Hey, welcome to another episode of the Insurance Agency Success Podcast. Today I sat down with Tom Sly of Turner and Sly Insurance in Ohio. Tom has been in the insurance business. He's owned this agency for 51 years. We talk about in this episode Tom's definition of success, and the definition of success that Tom shared with me I've never heard before. So I want you to stay and listen to that. Also, Tom shared what his number one strength is as an agency owner. And again, I've never heard anyone use this as their greatest strength. Tom shares stories of firing customers, which has to happen sometimes. There's a time for that. We talked that through. And he talks about the secret to success. And you're going to like it. And I shouldn't be surprised with 51 years of experience. This episode became a masterclass on being an insurance agency owner. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Jenesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the over the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Jenesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Jenesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo. All right. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
That's good to have you, man. Let's start with kind of telling us where you are, what's the name of your agency, and how you got started in this business.
Sure. The name of the agency is the Turner and Sly Insurance Agency, Inc., and we're located in Kent, Ohio. Everybody remembers Kent, Ohio, for Kent State University. I've been in the insurance business for a little over 51 years now, and I actually got started shortly after I got married. I was still in college, and the pastor at the church that we went to at the time had a very small insurance agency that he did on the side. He was getting ready to leave, and he asked me if I'd want to buy it, take it over from him. So I said, sure. And I graduated a year later with a degree in business finance, and I was offered 4 jobs. They were all with banks, and I didn't want to work for a bank. So I said, I'll just keep doing this. And I've been gainfully unemployed ever since.
So with the same agency for 51 years, and you bought the agency.
I bought a very small book of business. I mean, it was minuscule when I got started, but it's never been a huge book of business, but it's been enough to support 2 people and our families, and it's been a good life.
And yeah, you're doing mostly property and casualty, maybe some commercial, or?
Yeah, at this point, it's 90% P&C, both personal and commercial, and the rest would be life and health. For quite a while, I also held a securities license, but I gave that up a number of years ago.
Okay. And so what year was that you took over the agency?
I started in 1975.
Okay.
Been a lot of changes since then.
Take me through, if you don't mind, your agency management system evolution. When did you have your first AMS, and what was it?
The first one we had was a system that was made by a little insurance company out of Cincinnati at the time. And then everything started going to the PC basis, and that's of course the way we went at that point in time.
And you went to what?
I think we went to the Agency Advantage way back when.
Okay. All right. And Agency Advantage, we acquired them a few years ago, so they're still one of our legacy products.
Correct.
And then after Agency Advantage, did we convert you from Agency Advantage over into Genesis Now, or did you just kind of come into Genesis Now from scratch?
No, we converted. Again, I had a business partner, and about 5 years ago, he passed away. And he kind of liked to have his hands in the computer stuff. So I was content to let him do it. And I wasn't worried about it because he had a backup, did it every night automatically. He passed away, and that's when I decided I wanted to get something that was going to be internet based and more usable from wherever I happened to be at the time. So I started talking to Jenesis Now. We had uploaded a whole bunch of my stuff, the files, everything but the image files. And that's when the hard drive crashed on the computer. And I went to the backup and did not realize that he had it passworded.
Oh, my heavens.
So fortunately, most of our real file information got there ahead of time. And I lost all the images that we had. So I realized at this point that, that was 2023. And as time goes on, that's just going to get further and further into the past and not be that critical for us. So,
is there anything like that in your agency today? Is there any other risk that you have, or are you risk-free now in terms of anything locally, accounting or QuickBooks or anything else that's not online?
Right now, my QuickBooks is still on the local computer here. I haven't gone to the cloud on that simply because at the time he passed away, I had to make a change, and I went to QuickBooks real fast. My accountant advised me to just get the QuickBooks, I think I'm on 2021, and just install it and use it. And that was enough of a change for me up front. So that's on the horizon, on the near horizon, to get that added in.
So in addition to Genesis Now, what was the next thing we did? Was it reputation management?
Well, we did a website. We're doing reputation management, and we're doing marketing. And, it's been like a fire hose. We've been doing all these things at once. I think we started that just really about the first of this year. It's made a difference to me in the way that I look at the whole system, because now, certain things like, okay, a cell phone number for every member of the household. We didn't really care about that before, but that's becoming more and more important so that every person can be reached, particularly in the reputation, the touch points that you want to have with your customers. We want to be high tech, but we also want to be high touch. And this allows us to do that if we have their contact information correct.
Yeah, I totally agree with that 100%. And I've never felt more strongly than I do today that human connection is critical. I think the automation makes that easier and more frequent. And if I remember correctly, the results of that were phenomenal. You went from very few Google reviews to a lot of Google reviews over a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, that happened rather quickly. And that was good. And they're still coming in. So I'm happy about that. But again, like you say, the connection between people, a lot of that isn't there, particularly in the competition. You'll be taken care of by the next available representative. That kind of an attitude is just not, it's what people need, but a lot of people fight it. And as they fight it, they become less engaged with what insurance is and what it can do for them. And it becomes more of an impetus for us that I have to talk to people and have to engage them in a conversation about insurance because they don't really understand what it is. And we have our own language. We have our policies were written by attorneys and insurance people. And they read it and they think they understand it. And there's a lot to not understand. And
yeah, there is a lot.
They all think they've been, blindsided on things, which is not the case. But, it turns out being that way for them.
What do you think of in life or in business or business? When you think about success and the definition of success, what do you think that looks like?
A lot of it has to do with contentment. You've got to be satisfied with yourself and what you're doing. And that comes from a lot of different places. But to me, a lot of that in relation to my business comes from, what I can do for my customers. And if I can help them understand and help them manage the risk that they have every day, then I'm doing what insurance is supposed to do for them. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, I see a lot of people who they use the term due diligence. I've done my due diligence and I found something cheaper. Well, that's not exactly due diligence. That's just shopping for the cheapest price and not knowing what they've got and what it's going to do for them and how it works. I feel 99% of what I do is education. I help people understand where their exposures are and why it's important to have something that's going to fill those cracks in the existing program. So, like you just said, price is important, but it's not everything. It's just a piece of the whole package.
What do you think your strengths are as a business owner or an insurance agent?
I've read the policies. I know what they say, and I know how things can not work out the way people expected them to do. As an example, if you sell an all-risk policy to a customer today, they hear the words all risk, and they think they understand what that means. But in an insurance contract, that first section of the contract, which is definitions, is one of the most important places to go to, because that defines the term all risk. And paraphrasing it, all risk means we cover everything except the stuff we don't cover. So, okay, what is that? Now you know that it's not as ironclad as what they might think. You got to find out where the holes are and what's not covered. You've got to go to a different section of the policy for that, called the exclusions. And then you might also find some other stuff in the exceptions to the exclusions. So it's a never-ending, quest to find out how this policy has been put together and where the real exposures are to you as a customer.
I think part of your content on your website and some of the other marketing strategies could be around your strength of knowing the policies.
It's really simple. I have a client, and he's got a daughter who's 26 years old, still lives at home, has her own car, and they're all on the same policy. And I asked him, I said, well, what if your daughter goes to Florida and rents a car? And he said, oh, well, yeah, she does that all the time because, we have a house in Florida. Okay, well, who covers the rental car for your daughter? And he goes, well, our policy does. I said, well, your policy does for the named insured on the policy. The extensions of coverage go to the named insured, which is you and your spouse, but not your daughter. She's a listed driver on your policy. You've got an exposure there that you didn't know you had, and it could be a big one. So that's the kind of gap that I want to help people fill. And we ended up writing a separate policy for the daughter. It was a little bit more expensive, but he saw the value of putting some extra money into it because it closed that gap. And I think that's one of the things today is so many people know how to game the system. And when they game the system, it's usually only to their advantage if nothing ever happens. But if something happens, it's going to cost them.
Yes. Okay, so I love your strength. That's unique for me and wonderful. Surely you're not perfect. So if you're not, what are your challenges as a business owner?
My challenges are family. I've got a lot of family, and taken care of, spending time with them, and satisfying their needs. I got to fit that into my life too. I have a lot of other personal interests, so I'm in 100 different directions all day, every day. Everybody needs more time. I do too. the biggest thing is just I need to keep myself grounded in things that are important to me and be the kind of person that, my family and my God wants me to be. That's a tough one sometimes, but I think I do the best I can. But I think, the tough part for me is just the time it takes to deal with everything that needs to be dealt with all at once and not to take it home. When I leave the office, I'm pretty good at not taking it home. If someone calls me on my cell phone, I'll answer and I'll take care of it. But, I won't bring my troubles home to my family.
Tell me about your agency, why you think you're different, and what customers have told you why they do business with you. Kind of do a little commercial for me about your agency.
Well, our agency, again, we understand the product, and that's important. We understand people's needs, and that's important. We understand that price is important. So, for us to grow as an agency, we have to find other people who are concerned about what their needs really are, and not just concerned that, I bought a policy, I'm going to expect everything to be covered, because there's a whole lot of that. So, I guess for us, what we bring to the table is a relationship. Like I said, over 50 years, I've got a lot of people who are still clients that I've got that carbon copied first application for.
Love that.
So that's to me the most important part of building a relationship is building a relationship with people that I enjoy being with. And I think that makes it worthwhile for them, and it makes it worthwhile for me. I've had some customers, especially in this last 5 years where I've been on my own and time is valuable. I've had an opportunity to fire some customers, which is never a term I like to use, but it's a term I've had to use in a few cases. And I got a call from a guy just last night. He wanted me to call him back today. He hasn't been an insured of ours for about 4 or 5 years, but he wants to know if I can be the cheapest for this go around. It's like, I don't think so. I've got to prioritize who I talk to, and I'm sorry, but you're not on the priority list. And I hate to say that about anybody. I don't want to say I won't take time for anybody, but some people, all they care about is not the things that I care about.
All right. Last question. Is there anything we've not talked about that you want to talk about? And is there any advice you would give to someone that they're in year one, maybe year two, and they're thinking, I'd love to be able to think I can survive for 51 years?
Well, the first thing is nobody ever told me I could quit. So, you just keep going and doing what you got to do, which actually, I think that's an important mindset. If you feel that you can, drop out and just disappear, well, then that makes it easy to do. But, I'm pretty tenacious. I enjoy looking at history, which when I was at school, I didn't enjoy history at all. But now that I've got some of my own, I like looking back at history and quotations from famous people. And probably the one that I liked the best was Winston Churchill. He said, it's not always good enough to do your best. Sometimes you got to do what's required. And I think that's kind of really touched me in the last 15, 20 years when I first became of it. And it's, okay, I'm not going to just crap out mid-afternoon. I'm going to stay. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to get it done. And it may take me longer to do it, but I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to do it right. That, to me, says it all.
I love it. There's a phrase I've heard recently over the last few years, a few times, called burning the boats. Have you heard that phrase?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of that's what I thought about when you said you can't quit.
Yeah.
We've burned the boats. There's no getting off this island. We've got to survive.
We were kind of on the downside, and we weren't really doing anything to grow. At one point in time, we were a 50-50 ownership, and that kind of hurt us. I'd never do that again. After he passed away, I decided, well, yeah, I could sell the insurance agency, but it would be like a fire sale. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to make it better. Then my son-in-law got involved, and I said, well, now I'm really going to try to make it better. And it's just, find the things that'll motivate you, and you can make it better.
Well, thank you for your time. I've enjoyed this. I'd love to do it again sometime. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too. God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agencies like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. And if you're ready to simplify and scale, visit genesissoftware.com, Genesis with a J, and click on the orange button to request a demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep growing, keep building, and I'll see you next time.